unnecessary to lay a foul tongue on me, my friend. I could get upset. Things could get out of hand.
Granddaddy used to handle snakes in church. Granny drank strychnine. I guess you could say I had a leg up. Genetic was bacon.
God like me. I am as large as God. He is as small as I.
The little old mare will die. Well, then everyone loses their minds. I'm gonna make this pencil. I asked God about you, and God said, I delivered him unto you so that you may show him the way.
Show me the way.
This isn't what happened last week. Have you all got amnesia? They just cheated us. This isn't fair. He didn't get out of the cockpit duty car. God, I love you.
And over there.
The bathroom.
Yeah. He just goes a little mad sometimes. We all go a little mad sometimes.
Senator, just one more thing.
Love your suit.
Just better start showing me a little more appreciation around here, Mr. Man. I do wish we could chat longer, but I'm having an old friend for dinner. Bye.
Well, we are back again, hopefully live from the rolling hills of Murrayshire in the far northeast corner of bonny Scotland. Of course, the past few days we had the Northern Lights, the Aurora. Yeah, not tonight, not last night, too cloudy. And thick layer of cloud is what we had. So we only got it for the one night, at least in my area. So not any more photos as of yet, but there will probably be another chance in the future. So hopefully I can get a bit more footage. So, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, good night, wherever, whatever, in this absolutely insane world that we live in, and how fitting that tonight we discuss psychopathy or psychopaths. Yeah, I'm sure I'm pretty much adamant that everyone here has either met a psychopath, knows a psychopath, or has had some kind of dealing with a person they believe is potentially a psychopath. Because let's face it, well, I can only speak for myself. I'm not an expert on anything, let alone psychopathy, right? I don't think I've been called a lot of things in my life. I don't think I've ever been called a psychopath, but possibly behind my back, right? Probably most definitely behind my back. I think it's quite vague as well because there's some things that people would class as psychotic behavior where other people they might not. It can be looked at as a good thing or it can be looked at as a bad thing. They do tend to say it potentially could be genetic and then triggered by events in your life or society itself. Yes, this complex world that we live in, a complete insane world that we live in, where by the looks of it, psycho psych, psychopaths actually thrive in the beast system that we're in. It's all very fitting as well. And I've known about psychopathy for quite a while, but I reckon since I started hearing about what is it? Excuse me, the warrior gene, I kind of thought then, interesting name to use. They pointed at the warrior gene potentially being a psycho gene. They have talked about and looked for and done studies seemingly on finding what they call a psycho gene, but it's not been pinned down, not that I can see. When it comes to the genetic side of it, I'm unsure what to buy there, to be honest. I kind of think that we've all got natural tendencies in us, and we're gonna do what we can to get by. So, I mean, we use our feelings as best as we can. But I think when you when you come across a person who tends to have no empathy whatsoever, I think then you have a straight up psychopath because empathy is the key for me. Anytime in the past, going by my own experience, any situation where I've either hurt someone or been, let's say, not very nice to someone, I've always felt bad about it. Even I've spoke about it before when I done amateur boxing. I was really good. Going by what coaches said at the time, I was a really good boxer, great potential as a young lad, but I could not hurt people. Anytime that I did, I just felt really bad. I couldn't do it. So I had to pack it in. The last time that I had a fight and I hurt the guy, and I thought, nah, that's it. And that I was only about 14 at the time, and I think even then I knew that it's empathy plays a big role in how I lead my life. So when it comes to a psychopath, if they don't have that empathy, it also plays a big role in how they lead their life. And I think we capitalize on what we can in the situation that we're in, the surroundings that we're in. I kind of point to more the surroundings, society itself. I guess me and you, right? Rather than the genetic side of it. But I do find it interesting. Obviously, hey, again, I'm not an expert on anything, but hopefully we can have a bit of a debate tonight. As I said the other day, there is an article that I want to cover, but I also want to throw in a bit of context with one or two different videos. I put together the intro with psychotic movies, so you might have recognized a few of them, right? When you look at A Clockwork Orange, yeah, that guy, he was a psycho, but his friends, they were pretty much just as bad, right? You would say. Although after a while they sort of calmed down, and of course, what did they do? They joined the police. Shock horror. And through my own experience, I think the first genuine psychopath that I met or had a dealing with was a police officer. When I think back, that might have been the first genuine psychopath that I can think of. And that would have been when I was about 14, again, 13 even, when I had my first run-in with this particular individual. A complete and utter psycho, this guy. A guy from Manchester. Absolutely crazy. He used to beat people up and think nothing of it. Young kids. Well, I was only 14. I got hit by him on several occasions, even when arrested, handcuffed as well. Honest to God, I seen one of my friends in particular get beat up by two police officers who seemed to actually think that it was funny, and that is genuine psychopaths. Not only did they beat us up, but they would then pretty much kidnap us, is the only way I can explain it, in the van, put in the van or the car, took into the police station and in the cells until my father arrived. And they would think nothing of it. And I can remember even hearing them laugh about, I don't know what about, but clearly at us, in the background while being locked up, waiting on my dad, thinking, oh no, my dad's going to go crazy, right? To be honest, I wasn't that bad. My older brothers, they were a bit more out of hand, in and out of prison, pretty much their whole life, to be honest. Not today, fortunately, but in and out of young offenders and then the adult prison, pretty much right up until their mid-30s. Myself, I've never been in prison. I have been arrested and charged in the past, breach of the peace, what have you. Being young, stupid, absolutely stupid, intoxicated, drugs, drink, you name it, thinking that I'm basically invincible. I went through that period from about maybe 14 until about 20, 22 maybe. And then my life kind of started to take a turn for the better. But I always knew that I did have a decent heart. Whether or not that's genetic, I'm unsure. I believe the brain is a powerful, a seriously powerful tool that we have. And it can work wonders for any person. So you can basically train yourself to be a decent person. That is if you've got the will to want to. When you're dealing with a psychopath, they won't have the will. They'll simply continue. No empathy. They don't care about destroying someone's life. They simply don't. They still sleep like a baby. Whereas people like I guess ourselves, we would worry or have that empathy and feel bad about anything bad that we've done. And I'm sure everyone has came across or either had dealings with a psychopath. Let me see. I'll jump in the chat quickly, and then we're going to go to a video, I believe, right? So who have we got in the hood tonight? Hopefully the audio's okay as well. A bit late for checking, but I'm hoping we're all good to go, right? We've got all the mod cons tonight, so I'm hoping it's all right. And I will be using different tabs and videos that I've got uploaded. So I'm hoping it goes okay, right? I always want the best experience for people. You're not necessarily gonna learn very much, but I want people to try and at least enjoy in some sense the experience. Well, what have I done now? Okay. So we're all good for the audio. Justine in the hood. The wonderful Justine. Good to see you back again. A pleasure to have you. Sadie as well in the hood. Good to see Sadie back again. Kate Kane. Katie Kane in the hood. Good to see Katie back again. Ian Marr back again. Ian. Good to see you. Rich, of course. Yeah. Talking about Carmel. Who else would Rich be talking about, right? I think Rich might be a psycho. Nah, I shouldn't say that. I'm not an expert, so I can't diagnose anyone. I mean, that's another point as well. When they talk about it could be genetic, well, in that case, people who maybe commit a crime could go to court and say, well, actually, it's not my fault because I've got the warrior gene. So it's genetic. How can you then convict someone if it's a genetic condition? So there's a, I guess, maybe interesting sort of situation going on there. You can kind of see where it's going. Oh, you can't convict Tony Blair. He's genetically Satan, so we can't convict him, right? You can see where that could potentially head. Let's face it. So we're all good with the audio. Ragnar as well. Good to see Rags back again. Make sure you check out the channel. Dave A in the hood. Good to see Dave. Wendy B. Good to see Wendy. We've got Daryl as well in the hood. Good to see Daryl. Good thing there aren't. Yeah, I'm not so sure. This is where it's vague because a lot of people, they would class some things as psychotic where I might not. When it comes to world leaders, definitely 100% psychotic. And the people who want to be them or the next world leader, the next leader of tomorrow, they are probably psychotic as well. Although, like I said, the brain is powerful. They could eventually wake up to it. Things could happen in their life. When I think back to my own experience, I think even from a young age, some people I did consider a wee bit psychotic, going by their behavior, how they treated friendships, how they treated trust. And I think they're all pretty clear red flags for someone who could potentially be a psychopath or maybe a kind of narcissist or narcissistic, maybe, which I don't think is psychotic, but can be an issue in people's lives, I guess. But I mean, again, they have labels for these things, whereas you could just have a person who's a bit of an idiot, right? They don't know any better. We only learn through experience. So I think a lot of the time we can be quick to label or paint everyone with the same brush. I mean, I certainly can be, although I try not to. You've got to try, right? Who else have we got? Michelle as well in the hood. Good to see Michelle. A pleasure to have you tonight. MCG in the hood. Mic check 1 2 back again. Big Anthony Soprano. Good to see Tony back again. Phil is in the hood. Good to see Phil. We've got Mike as well in the hood. Good to see Mike. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I've heard that quite a lot as well. I know a guy who's a quite well-known MP in the UK, and I know from very good sources that he was a big-time bully at school. And his name is Douglas Ross, and he's a MP in the Conservative Party. He's going to come after me for slander now, right? But of course it's not, because it's true. And one female in particular said that he was a horrible person, and now he's I guess you could say, successful MP, right? The perfect candidate to be the yes man and get all the money thrown at him from, I don't know, Big Pharma, anyone who's involved with the green agenda, the trans agenda. It seems to be all the rage at the moment. If it's not the Ukraine, give all your money to Ukraine, then it's the transgender, or I don't know, even the COVID narrative's out the window for the time being. They're kind of phasing it out, brushing it under the carpet, like we forgot about it. We just won't remember what happened in the past 2 to 3 years, right? But of course, we won't forget. No way. We certainly will not. Well, God granted. Let's go with that. So good to see Mike in the hood. Who else have we got? I missed quite a few comments. We're probably running late already now. Joining the Dots UK, a content creator as well. Good to see you back again. Zoo Scott in the hood. A pleasure to have you. The beautiful Carmel back again. Good to see you. Sue Sprain in the hood. Who else have we got? I think that might be it. Quite a lot of people. So yeah, you're gonna have to bear with me, right? We'll jump away from the comments for the time being. RMF in the hood as well. Good to see you. Yeah. I think a lot of people already have. How could they, right? But of course they got manipulated that much. They were at a point where they simply just wanted to move on to any form of normality whatsoever and try to, I guess, forget about what happened, what just happened to them, right? Because we all know what happened. I mean, it was nothing but criminal what they carried out. Completely criminal. I mean, honest to God, where would you rank that as in the leagues of crimes against humanity? What they done with the pandemic, and then of course the wonder juice, right? I mean, it is staggering what they done. And to think that there could be more to come yet. I guess what don't kill us only makes us stronger, seemingly. So we're going to go with that. Frank is in the hood as well. Good to see Frank. And Tree Dude. Good to see Tree Dude. I've got a few trees behind where I stay. And I like them because the birds, obviously. I get a lot of birds there. And I like to bird watch. But the other day, the moon, I couldn't see the moon because of the tree. So I might take it down. I might take one of them down. I don't know. Of course, I wouldn't. I wouldn't take a tree down, but I am a bit concerned that they might get taken down. I've got a feeling they might. They do look a bit out of place. It's a new sort of community that we're in, and I've got a feeling the tree is, well, it's a group of trees. They could be earmarked for coming down, so I might have to chain myself to the tree, glue myself to the tree. They'll just take it down anyway, right? Kill two birds with the one stone. Yeah, I like to hear them singing as well, Justine. In the morning, especially, it's music to my ears. In the summer, absolutely amazing. So we'll jump to. I want to show you before we get into the article. I've got two videos that I want to show you. So we'll play one, then we'll get into the article, have a bit of a discussion, and then we're going to play the second video. And then there's more. And then we're going to have another kind of discussion, conclusion, summarization, if you like. And I guess it would be then sort of ending the show. How long that's going to take, I don't know. I reckon we could go until about, what are we at now? 10 o'clock on the dot, pretty much. We could go until about 12 o'clock tonight. So I apologize, right? But it's a bit of a laid back one, nothing too severe. I mean, we know, you know what you're kind of going to get when you come here. Not much changes. There's nothing new under the sun, of course. But we do try to cover as best as much as we can and try to get up to date information on the agenda, where it's going, because it'll be, hey, it's all connected in some way to driving forward this agenda, dragging us into this world where you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. You won't have any feelings. You won't have anything whatsoever, a property, a car. I think you might be lucky to get a bicycle, even. No, you don't even need that anymore, right? Unsustainable, of course. And it's fitting because in the media, in the mainstream media, you see a lot of people, they build them up to take them down. And that is pretty much the world in a nutshell. The majority of stuff that they create, it is going to come down eventually, or will be used as a stepping stone to further their own gain, the powers that be. Which again is why we're not only going through a great reset, but a great robbery. Taking everything away that they can. Maybe even down to the air that we breathe. Honestly, sounds mad, right? Yeah. He's a psycho. Get him off. So I want to take you now. Good to see Frank. And I appreciate the emails that you send. Much appreciated. And Michelle as well. Great stuff. And my good friend from down under, Bandy Boo. I hope you're doing well. I don't think she's about tonight, but she might see it in the future, right? Hello to the future. It's a duck as well in the hood. Good to see you. And Ruth as well. A pleasure to have Ruth back again. So I'll take you now to the first video that I want to show, right? If I can work it. I think it could be about 4-5 minutes. Yeah, 5. We'll go with that. It's from 2014. What is a psychopath? Dun, dun, dun. What is a psychopath, right? Anyone want to take a stab at that? Someone who's genetically mental. Possibly. That could be a good way to describe it. But it comes out of a university. So you know it's good stuff, right? Real good stuff. The trustworthy guys, the experts at the universities. Yeah, let's go with that. So 2014, and the video is titled, "What is a Psychopath?" Now, let me just get the comments clear. Did I miss someone? I don't think I did. Did I? No, we're good to go. So, we're going back in time for the time being to 2014. I remember it quite well. In 2014, there was an independence vote in Scotland. I think it might have been the last time I voted in anything to do with Scotland. And of course, I voted at the time. Still pretty much, I wouldn't say a fully fledged sheep. I was certainly well into my coming to, if you like, by 2014. I think from about 2009, 2010, is when I started kind of coming to, and I lost my place there. Man, I've lost my place. Anyway, 2014. That's what I was talking about, and of course, I reckon it will be the last time that I voted or will vote. I could never see me voting again. No way. Not even if they paid me £1 billion to vote. I don't think I could do it. And I've had a bit of a argument in the past with family members when I tell them that I won't be voting, even if it's a independence referendum. I'm not doing it. Hey, if they want to vote, they can vote, but they can count me out. And don't come blaming me when it goes tits up, right? That's what they would do. It's your fault you didn't vote. Yeah, of course, yeah. Of course it is. It's my fault. And probably the unvaccinated, us, we would get blamed. So we're going back to 2014. What is a psychopath? And it's from, I think, Emory University in America. Here it goes.
There are a lot of famous psychopaths out there, a lot. So one that's often talked about is Ted Bundy. Famous serial killer. He was really charming. Almost everyone in him was charming. He was actually very successful. He rose to the ranks of the Republican Party in Washington State. He was, much to my chagrin, a psychology major at University of Washington. So he was actually apparently very charming, very socially skilled, very smooth. But by the same token, he was also really, really deadly. He was incredibly brazen, incredibly fearless, incredibly bold, but also unbelievably callous. Basically reporting that he had virtually no guilt whatsoever. We do know, in fact, that most psychopaths are not extremely violent, but again, when they are violent, watch out. They can be very, very dangerous. John Dillinger, the famous criminal, earlier in the previous century, was, from what I've been able to read, a pretty classic psychopath. Gary Gilmore, the first man to be executed in the United States after the Supreme Court lifted the ban on capital punishment in the 1970s. Completely fearless. His crimes were often pretty pointless and unmotivated. And that's a very common characteristic one sees among psychopaths. Also, on the dangerous front, it's important to understand that there have been some political figures, and in some cases some very dangerous political figures, who certainly exhibited marked characteristics of psychopathy. Again, one wouldn't want to diagnose them from afar, but I think one could say with some confidence they have some of those features, people like Joseph Stalin. Now, the good news, again, is that most psychopaths are not overtly violent. That's good. That does not, however, imply that they can't wreak havoc in lots of other domains. And one of the areas that's getting a lot of attention in recent years, in fact, my grad student Sarah Francis Smith and I are looking at this quite closely in some upcoming research, is the possibility that psychopathy may be fairly common in some real world settings, especially business and corporate settings. In fact, we know surprisingly little about how prevalent psychopaths are in the business world, whether or not they're more likely to attain positions of power, what they're like as bosses, and what kind of damage they do. Certainly people would argue that some of the people involved in Enron and some of these corporate scandals exhibited marked psychopathic traits. Some have speculated, for example, give you another example, that Bernie Madoff had many psychopathic traits. I've not examined him, so it's hard for me to evaluate that. But what you often do see, I think, is that people are surprised by these individuals. One of the things that makes psychopathic individuals often so dangerous interpersonally is they often seem so damn normal. Even when you study the disorder in great depth and great detail, you can still get fooled by some of the better psychopaths. They often do dumb things that they even themselves will admit were ill-advised, but have a very hard time stopping. They have a very difficult time learning from punishment, even though they're smart and they understand what's going to get them in trouble. They have a very hard time stopping that kind of behavior. What one often sees about psychopaths, and this is what makes them fascinating, but also makes them quite paradoxical, is that on the surface anyway, they're actually quite rational. They know the difference between right and wrong. They just don't care. Hollywood has shaped our portrayal and popular conception of psychopathy more than just about anything else. Almost any early Jack Nicholson movie shows a psychopath at work. Jack Nicholson was a master at portraying the psychopath. So, I mean, even in One Flew of the Cuckoo's Nest, I think if you look at the character there, and in some ways actually quite sympathetic figure, Randall McMurphy, I think what you see about McMurphy is that he actually was, in many ways, a pretty classic psychopath. He, of course, was brought to a mental institution because he was faking psychosis. Obviously, it wasn't psychosis. He was merely malingering. But in fact, he had raped underage girls and was very, very charming, very swaggering, was dishonest, and so on. But of course, he also became a bit of a cult hero because he was anti-establishment and so on. So you see that a lot. Shakespeare, I think, got a really good psychopath in some of his characters. Richard III was a classic psychopath in many ways. Cassius and Julius Caesar, I think, also had many of the features of psychopathy. So whatever psychopathy is, we can be pretty sure it's not new because it goes back in literature for many centuries.
The preceding program is copyrighted by Emory University.
Yeah, well, I'm using it, right? Get used to it. Emory University. So quite an interesting video, that one. I kind of feel that a psychopath is very good at shape shifting, for lack of a better explanation. They're good at shape shifting into any situation that's going to promote them or make them look better or make their lives better, irregardless of anyone else at any expense. They'll backstab you like that, and they wouldn't think anything of it. That's the difference between someone who's not a psychopath and someone who is a psychopath. He mentioned fearless. I think that's a natural kind of trait, to be fair. There's being fearless, having no fear. But again, fearless in the sense of not worrying about betraying someone. I wouldn't call that fearless. But a psychopath certainly wouldn't fear about stabbing someone, excuse me, about stabbing someone in the back. For example, in a work situation, in the workplace, to get promoted, they would, I guess, stick you in or lie about you, for example, to then get promoted and think nothing of it whatsoever. Whereas you or I, we wouldn't. And if we did, if we were foolish enough to lie about someone, afterwards the empathy would kick in, the feelings would kick in, the guilt would kick in, and then we would correct the wrong by apologizing, confronting, sorting it out, being honest. And that way we would learn from the situation, move on, and not do it again. Whereas a psychopath, not so much. And like the guy said, when it comes to punishment, it doesn't help. They don't learn from punishment. And I think that I can see that being the case when I think of the amount of people in and out of prison who reoffend and never sort themselves out. They just end up coming back into prison time after time, or for the last time, and they stay there forever. I'd imagine there is a lot of psychopaths in prisons right across the world. If they claim it's genetic, maybe they'll let them out, right? Ah! Run to the hills. So I thought that was, interesting. And I think he's right about Jack Nicholson. He is, when it comes to playing a psychopath, I don't think there is anyone better. Does anyone reckon they know a better actor for a psychopath than Nicholson? Possibly not. So I'll take you now to an article, if I can work the screen. I'm hoping we're still going. What's happened here? Yeah. We're all good and we're still going. Yep. I need to double check because, hey, me and technology don't get along. So I'll do a screen share, present, if I can manage it. And I hope everyone's having a great week, right? What are we in now? Wednesday? What do the Germans call it? Mittwoch, I believe. Yeah. Middle of the week. Today, the cloud kind of lifted eventually. So I'm hoping tomorrow's going to be a better day and we get a bit of sunshine. Although they are still talking about, the beast from the east is coming back. Run! Snow! The snow's coming. Yeah. Because it's February. No surprises. Well, actually, it's not. It's March now. Whoops. It's the 1st of March. Silly me. Of course, I was only testing you. It is indeed the 1st of March. And I think February went rapid quick. January, not so much. It's interesting because January can feel long, then February just goes, and then March feels like it's a whole season itself. I think you end up getting about nearly 5 weeks in March, and it can be a interesting time of year. You've got the changing of the season, coming off the back of the previous year. The effects of it, I guess. I think in February, in February and March, you've got a high number of suicides throughout the world. I think one day in particular is pointed out as being the worst day. And when it comes to suicide, it's been bad. It's been, especially in Scotland, it has been a bad issue, a really bad fucking issue for too long now. Way too long. But it's getting worse. It's severely getting worse. Young men, 20s, 21, 19, young men with their whole life ahead of them, their whole fucking life ahead of them. And of course, the family gets left in complete and utter chaos, basically. Emotional wrecks, not understanding. The majority of the time, it's out of the blue as well. You do get people who try and then eventually they do. But a lot of the time, the ones that are going to do it, it's out of the blue, and they tend to not mess about. They just do it. They won't tell anyone they're going to do it. They just do it. They clearly must be struggling in their own self to take it that far, but they don't speak out. They don't speak out, or they can't see any way out of it, no matter what, no matter who they spoke to. And that is a real sad state of affairs at the moment in Scotland. It's not really a topic people like to talk about. You can kind of understand why, but certainly not one that I'm going to avoid. I've lost good friends to suicide in the past, and it's too big of a issue for me to avoid. So it's one that we might get into, but it's seriously emotional. It can be quite tough for me, even talking about it, and it can get me quite angry as well. Not at myself or anyone in particular, but society. How we're at this point where young men, young women, their whole life decide, no, actually, I'm thinking better of it. And they don't want to be here. Truly heartbreaking, honestly. So, I want to take you to an article now. I'm going to try and keep an eye on the comments, so I'll be multitasking, right? We'll have a look at the article, and then we've got another video, another quite interesting video, seemingly experts, of course. Make of that what you wish, right? So we'll jump to the article. Came out on did I get rid of me? Yep. The 18th of February. Science alert. Is it Red Nose Day soon? What an absolute scam that is, right? Red Nose Day. Oh, bugger, did I click on it? I hope not. Oh, God. Yeah, complete con. Oh, but for charity, yeah, give all your money to charity. Yeah, sure. Take my advice and keep your money for yourself. Charity begins at home. Nowhere else, right? Not Ukraine. Not the flooded countries of Africa or wherever they want to give you, they want you to give your last pennies to, while we're in a poly crisis, a multi crisis, an angrier world. Yeah, but give all your money away and don't forget net zero, the holy moly grail. Yeah, net zero. And of course, the goal has been net zero, right? Just on that. But they are now saying, oh no, we might not get there. We might not make it. We might not get to the Holy Grail. But we might just if. And there's an if. A big but and a big if, right? And that is if we use technology. What do you mean? Good question. What technology? Well, aeroplanes in the sky spraying chemicals. Like the not like the chemtrails. That's a conspiracy theory. That does not happen, right? Sure. Let's go with that. So they're going to use geoengineering to again push the golden carrot of net zero. And what will the sheep do? They'll lap it up. Yay, take all my money for carbon credits. Not me. Not me. They can forget it. I don't want to be involved in any of it. They can ram it. Their green energy, their green society, their smart cities, whatever they have in store. They can ram the lot. So, February the 18th, science alert. Psychopaths appear to possess a mysterious evolutionary benefit. So it's a mysterious evolutionary benefit to be a psychotic nutter. This is kind of what they've been pushing since I started hearing about the warrior gene. They appear to be, how can I explain it? Putting psychopaths on a platform, raising them above the rest. They have a evolutionary benefit. I guess it would depend on how you look at life, right? How you perceive achievement in life. What would society class as achievement in life? It would be promotion, right? Manager, owner, big businessman, success. Yeah, but at what cost exactly? That wouldn't be success in my eyes. No way. Success is a interesting one. I think if you can live your life happy and content, then you've been successful. Because if you don't live a happy and content life, you're going to suffer pretty much. At least from my experience. When anytime you're down in life, you're not happy, you're not content, nothing goes your way. You can kind of get stuck in a rut. But you pull yourself out, you dig deep, you get the strength, you move on. Tomorrow's a new day, a new dawn. Start again, better yourself. At least that's that's what I at least try to do, I guess. Describing psychopathy as a evolutionary benefit. I don't know. I don't know if I can buy that. I don't know. I don't think I would agree with that. Right? We'll go with that for the time being. Right? I see John's in the hood as well, and I know John's not a psychopath. Right? My brother John is actually a gentleman, a top class gentleman. You would be hard pushed to meet a nicer man than John Davidson. Honest to God. He would give you the time of day, no matter who, no matter where, no matter when. Right? So good to see John in the hood. I hope you're doing well. And I'll probably catch you tomorrow. I think John is live tomorrow night. So let me see where This came out the other week. Let me just zoom in a bit because of my terrible eyesight. It's genetic, probably, right? They seem to put everything down to genetics now, which is interesting as well. When you start to notice them, psychopaths seem to be everywhere. Psychopaths, Woody, everywhere. Psychopaths everywhere. Like Toy Story, right? This is especially true of people in powerful places. Yeah. I would certainly agree with that. But one estimate, as many as 20, by one estimate, as many as 20% of business leaders have, quote, clinically relevant levels, close quote, of psychopathic tendencies. Business leaders. Yeah. So people that lead the private sector, pretty much, who do a lot of enforcement of the agenda. It's all very fitting, right? Despite the fact, as little as 1% of the general population are considered psychopaths. The 1%, Oh, what have we done now? Psychopaths are characterized by shallow emotions, a lack of empathy, immorality, antisocial behavior, and importantly, deceptiveness. Yeah. I think the two biggest there for me is the no empathy and deceptiveness. That's the two biggest red flags for me. Antisocial behavior is a bit of a grey one. I probably would say that because I might be a wee bit antisocial, you might say. Who wants to be pro-social if we're going to be antisocial? Anti-society, that's me. Deceptiveness and no empathy is definitely for me the big ones. Antisocial behavior, I'm unsure. And of course, deceptiveness. When anyone who's came across a person you think's a has psychopathic tendencies, they always lie. They do nothing but lie a lot of the time. Sometimes for no reason whatsoever, or what would appear to be no reason to you or anyone else, but to them, they might see some kind of gain from it. Either trying to impress someone else or even trying to maybe satisfy their own mind, psychotic mind. Who would even want to know what went on in a psychopath's head, right? Jesus. So, from an evolutionary point of view, right, psychopathy is puzzling. Given that psychopathic traits are so negative, why do they remain in successive generations? Because, evolution, right? Survival of the fittest, seemingly. Is that what they're pointing to here? Psychopaths are the survival of the fittest. All hail the psychotics. Roll out Tony Blair, just in time, who oozes evil. I mean, you can see it coming out of his skin And that might sound psychotic, but you truly can. I mean, look at any latest photo of Tony Blair, and don't be telling me that guy's not psychotic. I mean, look at his history. He's a mass murderer on a gigantic scale, absolutely gigantic. And he's got the brass neck to fucking tell us what to do. Still, to this day. Talking about digital ID now. Yeah. If I told you what I wanted to do to Tony Blair, I'd get arrested. I would get arrested, I'd imagine. So you can guess where we're going with that, right? Psychopathy seems to be, in the words of biologists, maladaptive or disadvantageous. Yeah, so like it affects them, maladaptive. It would affect their life, their daily going ons. It would affect them, whereas someone who's not a psycho, it wouldn't. They could have a, I guess, normal life, if you want to call it that. I'm pretty sure that's what they're saying there. Assuming there's a genetic component to this family of disorders, we'd expect it to decrease over time. Yeah, because evolution, right? I don't know. Evolution is, again, in my own view, another fairy tale. Another never-ending story. If there was some form of evolution, it's not what they tell us. No way. No, not a chance. We're too far from the truth, too far away. We've been led too far astray. And where we are today, the history books will be rewritten on evolution. They already have been numerous times. Some people don't even know that they have been, and we've covered it on numerous occasions, in especially the unpreviously fought syndrome. Now, if an agenda pops into that, in my personal view, it is a orchestrated agenda, a manipulated agenda, an agenda that is being spun by the powers that be in a direction that suits them and not us. And they will clearly use the story of evolution, the theory of evolution, to their advantage. It won't be to our advantage, put it that way. And when I think back to sort of growing up and being at school, and of course a big fan of wildlife and animals and being outside, I always kind of wanted to know, well, where did we come from? Where did animals come from? Why have you got so many different insects and birds and similar animals, but a wee bit different? And of course, what they offer is the theory of evolution. But even Darwin didn't buy it. But that's the one that they push. And remember we covered an interview when they talked about Darwin. He had a pit bull, a guy who was described as his pit bull, because Darwin was getting it tight from a lot of people who were against evolution. And it was actually Huxley, not Aldous Huxley, but his grandfather. And I find that to be quite an interesting connection as well. One that I'm hoping to look into a wee bit more. Huxley, for me, is a big player in MK Ultra, or he was at least, in pushing it through how it would work. Of course, MK Ultra, it doesn't happen today. Don't worry about it. That's a conspiracy theory, right? So, to continue with it, where did we get to? Did we get to there? But that's not what we see in regards to being a psychopath being a disadvantage. That's not what we see, seemingly. And there's evidence that the tendencies are, at least in some contexts, an evolutionary benefit. I hate the word benefit for some reason. I'm not a fan of it. I feel it always gets used in the wrong context. According to my own research, the reason for this may be down to the ability to fake desirable qualities through deception. Yeah. So, on that, what happens when you get an election? Yeah, you you get all the candidates. We're gonna do this and we're gonna do that and we're gonna fix this. Yay, we're great. Vote for me. We love you. Okay. So you go and vote for them because they love you and they're gonna do this and they're gonna do that. They're gonna fix the road. They're gonna fix the roundabout. They're gonna fix net zero. So you vote for them. And then guess what? None of it happens. Not even the roundabout gets fixed. Of course, they were being deceptive, fake, conning you at all costs, telling you anything that would make you tick to get your vote. Oh, do you like cats? No. Oh, yeah, me either. Oh, do you like dogs? Yeah. Oh, yeah, I've got 3 dogs. And then just roping you in constantly, just basically, I kind of want to say manipulating, but get kind of like a trickster in a way, a con man, a businessman, a hustler. They hustle you. And when it comes to politics, because of how corrupt it is, psychopaths, that's where they go a lot of the time. The the politics game, the police, the military, Secret Service, that sort of things, MI5, the ones that are maybe not so smart, they'll go into similar roles like being a doorman. Not that every doorman is a psychopath, far from it. But I have met doormen who most certainly are psychotic, no 2 ways about it. And yeah, that's through my own experience. So sticking with this one for the time being, the power of cheating. Yeah. Trust and trustworthiness are important elements in the story of human social evolution. The most successful people, evolutionary speaking, are the ones regarded as trustworthy or reliable. I mean, again, I don't know if I would agree with that, to be honest. You wouldn't judge your trust on how successful someone was, right? You wouldn't. You don't judge a book by its cover unless it's a scud book. You know what you're getting when it's a scud, right? But apart from that, you don't judge a book by its cover. You judge it on merit. You would see for yourself, your gut instinct. You wouldn't think, well, he's the manager, I'll trust the guy. But that is how society would want you to think. Oh, he's the manager. You can trust him. Oh, he's a police officer. You can trust him. Trust me. I'm a doctor. Dr. Bill Gates. Oh, man. Trust is a a hard thing to find. Well, honesty is hard to find in the world that we're in today. And it means a lot when you do find it. People you can trust, you need to keep them close. Anyone you can't trust, don't waste your time. Don't waste your time on people you can't trust. You won't change them. Not full-grown adults who are set in their ways, right? You simply wouldn't. The best thing you can do is get them out of your life. Not like hire a hitman. Not anything like that, but just do other things instead. When it comes to psychos, they kind of drag people down with them as well. They manipulate, usually they'll manipulate individuals on their own, not so much in a group. They're usually called out for that, but they tend to get people on their own, and they usually have at least one person they've manipulated well and truly. And they don't seem to leave the person's side. Because I guess they think, well, yeah, he's a bit funny, but he's a good person, even though they get treated like trash. So we'll stick with it for the time being. Where did I get to? Trust further encourages cooperation, which has helped us to develop tools, build cities, and spread across the world. Even to the most inhospitable environments, no single other species has achieved this, making human cooperation a wonder of the natural world. It's the eighth wonder of the world. Yeah. Right, so humans are the only people to investigate the world or spread across the world. Yeah, I don't know about that, to be fair. Says who exactly? NASA? Yeah, sure, let's go with that. All hail the humans, right? Yeah. What an achievement. Oh, wait a minute, actually. The ice is melting. Global warming, CFCs, holes in the ozone. Yeah, maybe let's go back. We're going back. We've messed it up. Of course, the plan is not to go back, but forward into the new normal, the new smart world. Yeah, not for me. No way. Not for me. So it's a wonder of the natural world. Yeah, sure. Let's go with that. Yet, once our cultural groups become too large to know everyone individually, we needed to find ways to ensure that people we meet were likely to be cooperative. It's easier to trust a partner or sibling when hunting in the wild than to trust a stranger. The stranger might attack you or refuse to share any meat with you. Horrible stranger, right? Yeah. Yeah. I wonder where it all went wrong. I think we're still quite trustworthy. And I think sometimes, as humanity, quite trustworthy. And I do feel that sometimes that might be a bit of a con rather than a pro. But you've got to kind of balance out, weigh up every situation and make the best decision for you and your loved ones. without harming anyone. And I think the stranger would share. If you both made a kill together, I think you would sit down to enjoy it rather than the guy running away with it, right? I mean, you could chase him and kill him and take them both. So I think the sensible thing would to get the kill, share it, and have a good time, and then move on. So we'll move on from there for the time being. Therefore, it is thought that cultural groups developed powerful tools such as punishment to decide cheating and cooperative partnerships. Right. Evolutionary psychologists also argue that people evolved what's called a cheater detection ability, spidey sense, to tell when someone is likely to be a cheater. Right. This put cheaters at a disadvantage, especially in groups where punishment was strict. This approach relied on the ability to trust others when it is safe to do so. Some people argue that trust is just a kind of cognitive shortcut. Right. Rather than making slow and deliberative decisions about whether someone is trustworthy, we look for a few signals, probably subconsciously, and decide. Yeah, I mean, gut instinct, right? It would be a better way of putting that, I'd imagine. I don't think your gut instinct lets you down. And I think you do a lot of stuff subconsciously without even considering it. You kind of weigh people up within a few minutes of meeting them and speaking to them. I think they say that if you go for a job interview, I think they reckon, or through studies or whatever, they reckon the person who's employing knows within the first, I think, 3 to 5 minutes. So within 5 minutes of you walking in the door, they know if they're going to give you the job or not. You've probably hardly even opened your mouth to speak, and they've already made a decision. And when I think about that, I kind of think of a kind of aura that we have, a shield maybe around us. What's a way to describe it? I can't think of the word. But when you're in people's presence, some people make you feel at ease, some people don't. And I guess if someone walks in the door who you're looking to employ, you're going to want to feel good about them. And your gut instinct will hopefully point you in the right direction. Do you know this? I've thought about the sort of hiring jobs where they pick people for employment. I could not do it. Again, that's probably a job for a psychopath, to be honest, because I could not do it. Honestly, I could not be phoning people up and telling them, look, you never got the job. See you later. Good luck, right? Or I just couldn't. Imagine doing that week in, week out, shattering people's lives. It wouldn't be for me, that. Quite a cushy job, though. Interviewing people. It would be interesting meeting a lot of different people. Certainly, that would be interesting. But breaking their hearts, I wouldn't fancy that, to be honest. So maybe that is a job for a psychopath. I think they say it tends to be more men who are psychotic rather than the women. Some people might disagree. I would personally agree, but I would also say that I have definitely met a few psychotic women in my in my days, put it that way. I shouldn't laugh. I've definitely met more psychotic men. So I would agree that it tends to be men. Whether or not that's genetic, I'm unsure. Again, I think it's more to do with your surroundings and again, society itself. So let me see. I want to take you. We'll read a wee bit more. We're taking a bit longer than I planned. Shock horror, right? We're still going. I can see. I'm trying to read the comments just now. Justine, Tree Dude in the hood. Good to see you. Spanish chicken is in the hood. I love a bit of Spanish chicken. I must admit. Not too spicy though. Not spicy. Mild maybe. I'm not a big fan of hot food. Well, spicy food. It's only psychopaths who like hot food. They've got no feelings. Yeah, they bloody eat chili. I know some people who they're not psychos and they do like hot food. How they do it, I don't know. I've never liked food that's spicy or hot in that way. I can't. It's not for me. Wendy B as well in the hood. Good to see Wendy. Carol as well. Good to see Carol. Sue, Spanish chicken. Katie, Tree Dude. Mike as well. Good to see everyone still here, still going. Quite a lot of people tonight. I appreciate everyone jumping in. So, yet this presents us with a problem. Yeah. As I suggest in my research, the more complex society is, the easier it is for people to fake a proclivity for cooperation. Whether that's charging too much at the store or running a multinational social media company ethically and cheating while avoiding punishment is evolutionary speaking still the best strategy a person can have. Right. So being a psychopath is good then. Is that what they're trying to say? You'll be successful in life because complex society. Yeah. That's been built for us. This complex world that we're in, controlled by technology, pretty much. Maybe even AI itself. Who knows, right? In my own view, it's not controlled by AI. AI is simply a tool, and it'll probably be painted as the face of the big problem of the world. But in my view, if that's what they claim, it won't be. It'll be the same people that are behind it now, the same entities, the same bloodlines, not AI. So let's take you now. We'll jump across to a video, right? If I can work the screen. And then we'll jump into the comments. Jesus, we've had quite a lot. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. You're going to have to slow down. Too many. What's it say there? 417 we've had since I last checked. Which is good because I thought it would be an interesting topic that people would in the past had experiences on. I think any adult would certainly have an experience with a psychopath at one point. Usually a manager at a store or a bouncer or a police officer. at least in my own experience. I'm trying to think where else I might have run into someone who was psychotic. I can't really think offhand. I was also thinking earlier on, can I think of any world leaders who I think might not be psychotic? And I couldn't think of any. Everyone that I could think of, I concluded that yes, they are psychotic. Shock horror, right? So we'll jump across to the video that I'm going to show. Then we'll jump back to screen sharing, and we could go. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how long it takes us, right? I don't want to keep everyone the whole night. So this video, again, it came out in 2014. And this one in particular is called Discovering One's Hidden Psychopath, I think. Let me see. I can't see the whole bloody title. Yeah, Discovering One's Hidden Psychopath. That wee psycho that's trying to escape. Let me out! I want to kill everyone! You know that guy who's trying to escape from you? I guess they're on about that, right? So it came out in 2014, and it's from a media outlet called Big Think. They do a lot of stuff on deception, for example, space, right? And other scientific stuff. Let's go with that. So, without further ado, and it's actually about 8 minutes long. So it is a good time to grab a drink. Anthony is now filling the bong. So he's going to be up there, right up with the geoengineering clouds, high as a kite. He might still be here, Anthony. Could be sleeping by now. Good to see everyone in the hood tonight. So it's about 8 minutes, so you can potentially get a toilet break, whatever. You know the score. And we will be back in a bit. So, back to 2014 we go. Again, here it goes. Now, it starts off straight away. I had to cut about a minute from the beginning. So, it starts mid-sentence. You've got, I can't remember the guy's name. I think two seemingly experts on psychopathy. We'll go with that. So, this time, here it is.
They're going to kill you or rape you or maybe even take your money, but they're going to manipulate the situation, make you look bad or use you in some way. Something bad's going to happen. And if you sense that, people have a sense that something is wrong with somebody, you walk away. You don't fight these guys because they're an intra-species predator, a human that is a predator on other humans.
They're not really attuned to your feelings. They don't really care about your feelings. Really, ultimately, the world surrounds them. Psychopaths are also very charming. They're very manipulative, especially when they're in a crowd, especially when they're in company. But behind the scenes, when they're alone with you, they can be very, very controlling. Sometimes, but not always aggressive. But psychologically controlling as well, okay?
It's hard to look at the actual behavior of a psychopath and say that thing is psychopathic or not. Because psychopaths will come to the rescue of people. Can I help you up, ma'am? They can see the outward behaviors and they just can mimic it to get along. But fundamentally, they don't feel it.
We all know about the psychopath's enhanced killer instinct, their finely tuned vulnerability antennae. But it may surprise you to know that there are some situations in which psychopaths are actually more adept at saving lives than they are at taking them. So let me give you an example of what I mean by that, okay? Imagine you've got a train and it's hurtling down a track. In its path, 5 people are trapped on the line and cannot escape. Fortunately, you can flick a switch which diverts the train down a fork in that track away from those 5 people, but at a price. There is another person trapped down that fork and the train will kill them instead. Though the thought of flicking the switch isn't exactly a nice one, the utilitarian choice, as it were, killing just the one person instead of the 5, represents the least worst option. Okay? But now let me give you a variation. You've got a train speeding out of control down a track, and it's going to plough into 5 people on the line. But this time you are standing behind a very large stranger on a footbridge above that track. The only way to save the people is to heave the stranger over. While the score in lives is precisely the same as in the first scenario, 5-1, one's choice of action appears far trickier. Now, why should that be? Well, the reason, it turns out, all boils down to temperature. Okay? Case 1 represents what we might call an impersonal dilemma. It involves those areas of the brain primarily responsible for what we call cold empathy, for reasoning and rational thought. Case 2, on the other hand, represents what we might call a personal dilemma. It involves the emotion center of the brain, known as the amygdala, the circuitry of hot empathy, what we might call the feeling of feeling what another person is feeling. Now, psychopaths, just like most normal members of the population, have no trouble at all with case 1. They flick the switch and the train diverts accordingly, killing just the one person instead of the 5. But this is where the plot thickens. Quite unlike normal members of the population, psychopaths also experience little difficulty with case 2. Psychopaths, without a moment's hesitation, are perfectly willing to chuck the fat guy over the rails if that's what the doctor orders. Now, moreover, this difference in behavior has a distinct neural signature.
There are a number of areas in the brain that are very important in social decision making and moral attitudes. And there's a more primitive part of the brain that deals with emotion called the limbic system. In the limbic system, there is a small organ called the amygdala that registers emotion, but particularly has an ability to recognize when somebody else out there has a fearful face or is in a state of fright or upset. The interesting thing about the kind of cold-hearted murderers is that their amygdalas don't function properly the way ours does, and they may recognize dimly that so-and-so out there is afraid, but they don't have the concern that you or I would. Like, let's say if we saw a crying kid in a department store who probably got separated from its mother, they would recognize it, but they would take advantage of the child, pretend to take it to the information booth, to get it reconnected with its mom, and then kidnap the kid or something like that. Another important area is the front part of the brain called the orbitofrontal cortex. That area is involved in moral decision making, figuring out what's right versus what's wrong that we learn as we grow up and are instructed by our parents and our teachers. So if that area of the brain is not operating at full tilt, it may be possible then to carry out an act which would be repugnant and very much against the law. But think of the orbitofrontal cortex as a kind of braking system, which, if it's operating, will put the brakes on a thought or a desire that may have preceded it, that I like to kill that son of a bitch, or I want to take that kid and kidnap him, and then one thinks of the consequences. Oh my God, I've eaten cheese sandwiches in jail for the rest of my life. I won't do that. I won't go there. But if that cortex is not operating, the person may just go ahead and do it.
The pattern of brain activation in both normal people and psychopaths is identical on the presentation of the impersonal moral dilemma, but radically different when things start to get a bit more personal. Imagine that I were to hook you up to a brain scanner, a functional magnetic resonance imaging machine, and were to present you with those two dilemmas. Okay, what would I observe as you went about trying to solve them? Well, at the precise moment that the nature of the dilemma switches from impersonal to personal, I would see the emotion center of your brain, your amygdala, and related brain circuits, the medial orbitofrontal cortex, for example, light up like a pinball machine. I would witness the moment, in other words, when emotion puts its money in the slot. But in psychopaths, I would see precisely nothing. And the passage from impersonal to personal would slip by unnoticed, because that emotion neighborhood of their brains, that emotional zip code, has a neural curfew. And that's why they're perfectly happy to chuck that fat guy over the side.
Orbital cortex and the amygdala. Orbital cortex is involved in inhibiting your behavior. Now, the amygdala, on the other hand, really causes behavior. And normally they're in balance. They inhibit each other. Now, in a psychopath, they're both turned off, so they don't inhibit each other and they don't regulate it. So the normal balance of animal drives and your social interactions, your morality, are not right. That's never right. I mean, there's a time for aggression. There's a time for killing even. There's a time for sex. And part of it is how the rest of the brain is able to tell your orbital cortex the social context is correct now. Psychopaths don't have that. They're doing things completely out of context, out of social context, and that's the problem.
If we remove the definition of psychopath away from the kind of more clinical settings to an everyday life kind of scenario, psychopaths tend to have quite a few positive characteristics going for them. They tend to be assertive. They don't procrastinate. They focus on the positives of situations. They don't take things personally. They don't beat themselves up when things go wrong.
Another thing is the kind of you're not very susceptible to pain. Pain doesn't bother you. And also when you're caught doing something, you have no tells. You could be caught red-handed, having an affair with somebody. And you can say, no, that's not me. It's like, you're going to believe me or your lying eyes, and so it's this, the ability to lie without any tells.
Those kinds of characteristics can actually really help us get along in life. So let's give you a very simple example, if you like. The Nike slogan, "Just do it." There's a psychopathic slogan for you, if ever there was one. Psychopaths do not procrastinate. Psychopaths, if they want something, they go for it, and they go for it now. Top sportsmen are very high in certain psychopathic characteristics. Now, let me just go through them. You've got ruthlessness, you've got fearlessness, you've got mental toughness, you've got coolness under pressure, you've got the ability to focus remorselessly on a goal. I mean, these things are straight out of the sports psychology textbooks in many ways. So, anyone from top golfers to top cyclists, to top boxers, to top athletes, they are going to be high on these psychopathic characteristics.
Usually the question is, what percent do you think is due to genetics and what percent is due to environment? And it turns out not to be the great question to ask, because it looks like the answer is, if you are born with the biological markers for psychopathy, for example, that is the genetics and the altered brain pattern early on, if you are a susceptible kid, then environment means everything. It means a lot, maybe 80%.
Howdy, Buzz.
Yeah.
How's it going? Remember me?
What's your name?
Bart Sibrel.
Would you give your name to my assistant?
Yeah, I got one for you, one for your lawyer to sue me.
That's right.
I hope you do. I'd love to go to court and show the window shot.
I know you'd like to get a lot of attention, wouldn't you?
Well, you're the one getting money for something you didn't do. You're getting a lecture for walking on the moon when you didn't. Well, that's called being a thief. That's called being a thief. Do you think you can get to heaven without repenting? Why don't you swear on the Bible that you walked on the moon? Why don't you swear on the Bible that you walked on the moon?
I'm not trying to get in the middle of anything.
To get out of here?
This is a hotel.
We'll call the police.
We pay.
Come on in here, we'll call the police.
Why don't you swear on the Bible that you walked on the moon?
It doesn't, sir, I don't have nothing to do with this, but
Okay.
you cannot solicit on this property.
We just paid to rent out the penthouse to shoot up there. So
You can't solicit like this.
keep shooting.
All right, well, then I'd go through my masters.
Yeah.
You got to keep shooting, man. Okay, well, you can put it on your shoulder. Don't be shy.
Come with me, Buzz.
You really like it, don't you?
You're the one who said you walked on the moon when you didn't. Calling the kettle black, if I ever thought of it. Saying I misrepresented myself.
Away from me.
You're a coward and a liar and a thief. You're a coward and a liar and a thief. You're a coward and a liar and a thief. You're a coward and a liar. You're a coward and a liar.
Space expenditures will soon rise some more, from 40 cents per person per week to more than 50 cents a week for every man, woman, and child in the United States. For we have given this program a high national priority, even though I realize that this is, in some measure, an act of faith and vision, for we do not now know what benefits await us. But if I were to say, my fellow citizens, that we shall send to the moon 240,000 miles away from the control station in Houston, a giant rocket more than 300 feet tall, the length of this football field, made of new metal alloys, some of which have not yet been invented, capable of standing heat and stresses several times more than have ever been experienced, fitted together with a precision better than the finest watch, carrying all the equipment needed for propulsion, guidance, control, communications, food, and survival on an untried mission to an unknown celestial body, and then return it safely to Earth, re-entering the atmosphere at speeds of over 25,000 miles per hour, causing heat about half that on the temperature of the sun, almost as hot as it is here today, and do all this, and do all this, and do it right, and do it first before this decade is out, then we must be bold. I'm the one who's doing all the work, so we just want you to stay cool for a minute. However, I think we're going to do it. And I think that we must pay what needs to be paid. I don't think we ought to waste any money, but I think we ought to do the job. And this will be done in the decade of the 60s. It may be done while some of you are still here at school at this college and university. It will be done during the terms of office of some of the people who sit here.
Well, well, well. A bit of an extended break there, unfortunately. You know, it's kind of fitting because the topic is indeed psychopaths, right? Psychoticness. And my son, Billy, has just went absolutely mental. Completely psychotic. I should have let you hear it to give an example of a psychopath, right? You can see why I'm saying it's not genetic. It can't be. It must have skipped me and jumped onto my my son Billy. Honestly, he went mental there. So I had to play a wee bit of Bart Sibrel. We've got a lot of time for Bart. We don't agree on everything. You never can, but we do have a lot of time for Bart. Of course, Buzz Aldrin gave him a left jab. Boof! Don't you can ask me that. I'll break your fucking legs. And would you... Who reckons Buzz Aldrin is psychotic? Or has psychopathic tendencies? I'm not sure. I don't think I'd call Buzz a psychopath, but he could be. He could be. Like in the video had said, these people, they're very good at pretending. And they're kind of predators, and their behavior is predatory. They act like a predator, feeding on prey. Anyone that buys their nonsense basically gets roped in. And of course, yeah, they pretend, they deceive, they mimic. They'll mimic anything to further their gain. Like I said, a good way to describe them is like a shapeshifter. They'll mimic any form whatsoever to, if it's going to further their agenda or their gain at any cost, even if it means stabbing you in the back. They're very, very good at that, in mimicking any behavior, which is basically how they trick people, deceive them, because they mimic. They'll see someone who's a good person maybe and take that and then use it. But it's of course, it's a mask. It's not them. It's not who they are. Someone mentioned Bill Gates. Yeah. I think Bill Gates is definitely psychotic. I mean, I shouldn't laugh, but look at the video when he's getting grilled in the court. Not a court. Is it a court? In the 90s, the mid-90s, I think. And he's rocking back and forth like a complete psycho. We covered that a good few years ago now. I mean, when you watch the recorded episode from that, the court case, whatever case it was, again, Microsoft criminals, of course, you can tell that Bill's not all there. He is totally, completely, and it's coming from me, he is totally unhinged as a human being. Maybe not even bloody human. I would not rule that out. I couldn't. But the guy's clearly psychotic. And that's looking back on the stuff from the 1990s. Even if you look at the stuff he today, he still has these psychotic traits where he's talking about vaccines and the pandemic and he's laughing about it. Not a care in the world, wee Billy Rockefeller, aka Devil Bill. There's no better way to describe Bill Gates other than a devil. And who else did we see in that video? Kennedy. Does anyone think that Kennedy might have been a psycho? What do I think about Kennedy? Again, he could have been very good at pretending, mimicking good behavior. They mentioned, the expert seemingly mentioned, well, the seemingly expert mentioned that they can be very charming. Of course, that's to deceive you. And again, obviously, Kennedy, a politician, got to the top. By what means, though? He doesn't really come across as a bad guy, but that's what you see. That's what I've seen in the media. I don't know the guy behind the scenes. I wouldn't rule it out. I wouldn't rule him out being a psychopath. I'm kind of 50-50 with JFK. Let's face it, to get to that point, you probably are. To get to the position of president of the free world. Yeah, let's go with that. Hope and glory. Yeah, sure. Then, yeah, you're likely psychotic. And pretty much a mass murderer with the agendas that you implement. Of course, none of them are their ideas. Nope, not any of them are their idea. Only the ideas of the powers that be. Politicians come in and out like the weather. The agenda don't. It continues. It continues no matter what. No matter what. War? Nope. Continue with the agenda. Pandemic? No, don't worry about that. Continue laying the so important fibre optic broadband everywhere, right across the UK, not to mention the 5G, right? Yeah, don't think we have forgotten about the 5G, the totally safe 5G. It's totally safe. You could eat it for your breakfast. Yeah. Well, we might just be doing that anyway. And of course, it's all coinciding. You've got the psychopathic businessmen willing to roll out 5G to make them successful in life. Look at me, I'm successful, a millionaire. I rolled out 5G. Yeah. Sure. So Kennedy, I'm unsure. Buzz Aldrin, I think he might have been a bit psychotic. I shouldn't laugh, but today I don't think he's very well, to be honest. He could be putting it on, of course. They're good at doing that. Oh, I've got dementia, don't put me to court. Yeah, he could be pulling that card. Interesting as well, one of them experts mentioned about the Nike logo. Just do it. Just do it. Forget about the consequences. Just do it. Yeah, Nike everywhere. Nike, right across the world. Nike, it's a good brand, best brand. Billboards, movies, sport, everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. I'd imagine you could pick out any grown adult in the world and they would have heard and seen the logo. Just do it. And that's not by accident. Rather than a psychopath being a psychopath through genetics, I would point to him more being a psychopath through society and manipulation. I mean, that's only an example. Just do it. Look at the Disney cartoons. Cartoons, man! For young children, look at the majority of, if not all them. There's always a bad guy. There's always a murder. There's always an evil guy. There's always something terrible as well that happens. But there's usually always a bad guy, an evil guy. Even in the cartoons for very young children. So I tend to think about what they put in cartoons. And Disney. You couldn't get any more of a satanic entity than Disney. What are they teaching our children? What do they want them to become through manipulating their minds at a young age? Do they want a world full of psychopaths, run by psychopaths, who have no feelings, no empathy? Who are we kidding, right? We're already there. But it's not just the cartoons. It continues throughout Hollywood. We got a wee look at some of the movies from the past that include psychopaths. And going way back, it wasn't too bad. But today, it's not just about murderers and people who have psychosis, but it's actually now all out about satanicness as well. Like it's a good thing. Oh, it's not evil. Yeah, sure it's not. Who are they trying to kid? And of course, you've got Netflix, a massive pusher of that at the moment. As soon as you switch it on, it's something about Satan or murders or something terrible. I guess bad news sells, right? But they always kill more than two birds with the one stone. And I think when it comes to television, it plays a big part. And that's not even getting into the possibility of mind control without people even knowing. How susceptible are we to being manipulated, to having our brains manipulated by technology like the television? We probably don't want to know, right? We don't want to know. Just switch the bugger off and throw it out the bloody window. The end. Go and plant some tomatoes, right? Some tatties, potatoes, if you like. I done that the other day with my crazy psychotic son, Billy. I shouldn't say that. But we've been planting some of the veg for this coming year, which is always a good thing. It's something that I enjoy more and more every year, the more I get into it, working with vegetables and plants and wildflowers, wildlife. It's I love it. I really do. I'm glad that I found the college course that I'm in. If you had asked me a year, 2 years ago, if I'd be doing this course now, I'd have said no, probably. I doubt it. But here I am. I'm doing it. I've learned so much already. I'm enjoying learning at the moment. So I'm pretty much taking in as much as I can. I'm going to keep going while I've got the thirst, while I've got the knowledge, while God granted I've got the ability, if you could call it that. So I think we'll jump in the chat and then we'll wrap it up for tonight. A bit of an interesting one, but I think we will also do a part 2 into psychopathy, right? Or psychopaths, if you like. Not psychopaths, but psychopaths. And yeah, it's always an interesting one. I think usually the majority of people do know someone in the past or today who they consider to be a psycho. And usually they don't have any empathy whatsoever. So that for me is the one to look out for, because in my view, they're people that you should stay away from. Let's face it, you wouldn't be hanging out with Bill Gates, right? So you should maybe consider giving a psychopath a wide berth, if you like. You'll know what I mean by that. And focus on yourself, right? It can be tough as well because you grow up with people. Sometimes it could be family. But again, you've got to put yourself first. First and foremost comes you, no one else. Your well-being, your comfort, your contentness, your happiness, your health, your ability to do what makes you happy. That comes first. Nothing else. You look after yourself before you sort the world out, right? And then we sort it out, right? In good spirits, in high spirits. That's what we need to be in, right? I'm not talking about new age stuff or anything like that. Being in high spirits, being ready for the fight, whatever it may be. Fearless, not psychotic, but fearless. Not fearless in letting people down, but fearless in fighting whatever is put upon us. And I believe that united in what I call good morale is going to do us wonders. And we're far from out of it. We are not done. No way. We're still here. We're still going. We will not bend. We will not break. No chance. It's not happening. They don't know who they're dealing with, right? Of course they do. They monitor us 24/7. They've put us in the computer modeling. They know what we're going to do. They know our every move. Sure they do. Let's go with that. So, I'll jump in the chat and we'll kind of wrap it up, right? Tree Dude in the Hood. Good to see you back again. Sadie as well. I hope you're doing well, and your mother as well. Good to see you tonight. Justine, always a pleasure to see the beautiful, the wonderful Justine. Wendy B as well. Good to see you still here. Much appreciated. Phil as well. A pleasure, and thank you for the continued engagement. Much appreciated. Katie Kane, a pleasure to see you as my son kicks off again. Kids, right? Who would have them? Bloody hell. Whoops. Julia, good to see you. A pleasure to have you tonight, Julia. Just walked out because you told him to get away from me. Was that me? I apologize, right? Maybe it was someone else, but a pleasure to have Julia in the hood. Oh, what happened there? My screen went. And good evening to you and your husband. Joining the Dots UK. A pleasure to see you. The bottom of the pyramid, know nothing of the... My screen went blank again. Of the above and Freemason. Yeah, compartmentalization. You know what you need to know on a need-to-know basis. Otherwise, you don't know. And the experts at compartmentalization are NASA. Yeah, them guys. Of course they are. They're the experts at it. And I always think, when I think about that, the people who say, that many people can't lie. Too many people, billions and millions and trillions, gazillions, quadrillions of people can't lie. Yeah, because they were all involved in the faking of the moon landing, right? Sure. Let's go with that. Of course, they can't comprehend the lie is too big, too great. It simply can't be. That would mean it's been a complete lie throughout. Yeah. And then you hear the penny drop, right? We've all been there, I guess. Joining the Dots, a pleasure to see you. Who else have we got? It's a Duck. A pleasure, as always. Much appreciated. Has Duck in the hood. Thank you for joining tonight. Excuse me. Sue Sprain. A pleasure to see you. Dognostics, is it? 90% of CEOs be psychos by their own test. Yeah. I'd imagine 100% are. The 10% are really good at pretending they're not. They're the experts at pretending, right? Good to see Dognostics in the hood. A pleasure. My screen again. I don't know what that is. It's bloody annoying. Anthony, good to see Big Tony. Hopefully you can get sorted out tomorrow, hopefully. And I will hopefully be back on the Sunday night, right? I'm looking to make my live streams on Sunday and Wednesday. Then anything that's live in between is going to be Flight Radar, and that'll be out of the blue. It could be anybody's guess when, and it'll be off on the off chance if you catch it. If not, you can get it at another time. But because it's the Flight Radar, it does happen in real time, and it will be a bit out of the blue. And we will be getting into that a wee bit more. So good to see Big Tony in the hood in Spanish Chicken. A pleasure. And of course, John, Gentleman John, a pleasure to have you, our Scottish brother, who's away to read a book in bed. I hope it's not a book on psychopaths. You'll be having nightmares, right? We're all going to have nightmares tonight. Watching that movie clip, the movie clips at the beginning. I might play it on the way out as well, just in case anybody missed it. A pleasure to have you again tonight, John. I'm very grateful for all your time, knowledge, and wisdom. Much appreciated. Phil as well. What a pleasure. Phil always puts a smile on my face. He comes across as a very energetic person. And yeah, it's a pleasure to have you here, Phil. Justine, the wonderful, beautiful Justine, deserves to be given 2 Cheerios. So a pleasure to have you tonight, Justine. Who else did I see? Bri, a pleasure to see Bri. Much appreciated, Brian. Anyone that I missed? Probably. Michelle, of course, Michelle. The wonderful Michelle. Good to see you. And thank you for the emails as well. Is Netflix 33 in Gematria? I mean, yeah, there you go. Of course it is, right? I didn't know that it was, but of course, yeah. Of course it is. I think the guy Lawrence Spellman Rockefeller is 33 as well. I'm sure someone told me that when I told them that he was the guy behind the Georgia Guidestones. Of course, yeah, the Georgia Tombstones is a better name, right? Anyone else that I missed? I'm unsure. I don't think I did. But what we'll do is we'll get into the psychopath situation again. I think you can see where it's going, right? They're portraying these psychopaths as pretty much a superior genetic form where they benefit, they succeed, or what they call success in life. They get it easier than the average Joe who actually cares about his neighbor, his friend, his brother, his sister. And that's us. But of course, in the world that we're in, yeah, it would make sense. They get pushed up. We get the raw deal. Shock horror. Shock horror, right? So let me think on Sunday night. We will be back again. What we're going to get into, I'm unsure. So, bit of a cliffhanger there, right? What could it be? I don't know. It could be anything, to be honest. We might revisit the balloon situation. I'm unsure. But I'll let you know as soon as I can. I should have a few pre-made videos in between. Although only 1 or 2 in the pipeline at the moment. But with the current world that we're in, it's a never-ending agenda. Every day, something new. Or maybe not something new, but something that says, yep, we called it. Yep, we thought as much. And we might get into the Madeleine McCann situation in a live stream in real time. That might be quite good. I'm sure we'll think of something, right? So, thank you. Thanks very much to everyone for joining tonight. I greatly appreciate it. Like I said, Sunday night, and remember, not for one split second, live in fear. Don't. Love your brothers and sisters. Love the people that you care about, but don't live in fear. Work together when and if you can. And remember, look after yourself first and foremost. And like I always say, no matter what, no matter where, do not comply. And that is about it. Bye-bye.
necessary to lay a foul tongue on me, my friend. I could get upset. Things could get out of hand.
Granddaddy used to handle snakes in church. Granny drank strychnine. I guess you could say I had a leg up, genetic was bacon.
I am like God, and God like me. I am as large as God. He is as small as I.
The little old mare will die. Well, then everyone loses their minds. I'm gonna make this thing.
I asked God about you, and God said, I delivered him unto you so that you may show him the way.
Show me the way.
This isn't what happened last week. Have you all got amnesia? They just cheated us. This isn't fair. He didn't get out of the cock-a-doodle car.
God, I love you.
And over there.
The bathroom.
He just goes a little mad sometimes. We all go a little mad sometimes. Oh, and Senator, just one more thing.
Love your suit.